let's just say, for example, when you first moved into your apartment, now, because of the love and the care and the effort that you've put into it, it's actually not something that's holding you back because you've invested in it. It's helping you to spring forward into the next chapter of your life.
I started to notice how much of an impact it made on like my mental health. Because I work from home 7 days a week now. So like I have a full-time job that I do Monday through Friday. And then, we do the podcast. Hi, everybody, and welcome to Evolve Ventures, where we are making evolution possible for growth-minded humans through vulnerable lessons, stories, and technology. I am your host, Bianca Thomas.
And I'm your host, Emilia Smith. Welcome back to another episode. Episode 128, Is Your Home Holding You Back? So B and I have, in the last couple of years, like obviously we've gone through so many different transitions, so many evolutions in our own experiences. And she and I have both moved different spaces in like the last 2 years. And I know that Bianca and I's unique experiences in assessing our homes and assessing our spaces has done so much for us. And we want to make sure that in this episode, we can share with all of you listeners, like, what have we found to have been holding us back as we go into these new seasons? So, yeah, B, I know that you have transitioned from, formerly living with family to living completely independent on your own, and same with me. And we've had our own unique kind of history. So let's dig into that a little bit.
So I went from living in my parents' home, and I got to give it to my mom. She did such a good job, like decorating the home that we were in and doing all of those things. Like our house really was like immaculate. Obviously, like bougie Arabs, like they know exactly how to set up the home to make it like
it's like a museum.
Yeah, literally, it was like a museum. You literally could like lick food off the floor, and that it would like be clean, because my mom was obsessive. So I went from living in that environment where it was gorgeous, but I never felt at home there because of that fact, like because it was just so pristine. And my mom wouldn't let us put stuff up on the walls because, like, again, bougie Arab, it's like, no, the house needs to be perfect. And then going into living with my ex, and we were living in a really small space, and then moved into this really like old farmhouse that like it was weird. Like I didn't really feel at home there either, to moving into now completely living on my own. When I moved out, I moved into this like small dingy apartment because it was like one of the only ones that I found. And then moving into this space that I'm in right now that I truly love. But over the last year of me being in this apartment, I've made so many changes to it. Like even just my office. So like for the first 6 months that I was here, there was no furniture, literally nothing. I had 2 couches that were given to me for free that don't match like anything, and I still have them. But
they're
that was
starting
like
to match.
It's getting
around
there.
them.
We're getting there. But it was, so those were the only things that I had in here, and then like my bed. So being in that space and having this not be representative of me or having a good flow, it didn't make me feel like comfortable or safe or like happy in my environment. And so what I did was slowly I started implementing a lot of the tools that like we've done a lot of research on, like setting up the rooms and adding color and adding like greenery, and like I have my Buddha chilling over there with some plants around it, and obviously they're fake because I have a black thumb. Like if you give me a plant, that's gonna die. So just adding like
that was me at one point.
Yeah, Lord of the Flies over there with your you remember that?
I completely forgot. Yeah, that plant has since died.
Oh my god. So I started implementing all of these little things, and just slowly just slowly adding all of these little pieces into my apartment. And I started to notice how much of an impact it made on like my mental health. Because I work from home 7 days a week now. So like I have a full-time job that I do Monday through Friday. And then, you know, we do the podcast and our business 7 days a week. So I'm here 24/7. Like I don't really go anywhere else. So making sure that my apartment was set up in a way that made me feel good, made all the difference in my experience constantly being here. So people who are watching, you can see that even my backspace right now is very different. So one of the things was I had my office in this tiny little room in this apartment, and it was wicked crammed in there. So I had like portraits on the wall. I had my degrees there. I had the gay pride flag up there, but it was like the wall was too small. So it was like on an angle. So you could see like part of the other wall too. And it just, being in that room, I felt like suffocated. And it didn't give me that sense of like openness and freedom and that like feminine like expressiveness, I guess, that like I need, and I know Em needs, like being in her home too. So even just being out here in the middle space of my apartment and redecorating, it made a huge difference in how I feel sitting here every day. And how I feel showing up on the mic in the meetings that we have and in all of these different things that we do. And you and I talked about this all the time. Like I've never been like a super feminine person of like being able to do nice decorating and doing all of that like quote unquote girly shit that I never liked. And now that I'm in my own space and now that, you know, I have to do it, I honestly grew a fondness to it and I really started appreciating it. And when I was able to tap into that and set up my space in a way that really made me feel good, it really has changed the way I've been able to show up.
So we know that we have so many different, like all the genders listening to our show and from all over the world. And so this concept of like home, I want everyone like kind of in this conversation, because this is what I'm thinking about right now. Like, what does home mean to me? Like, because B, you and I, like, we've evolved our definition of home and what that means to us and what is included when we talk about home. Is it like the actual physical place? Is it like the person like that you're hanging out with? Is it the community that you're a part of? Like, is it a geographical location? Is it, you know, your walks out in nature? Like, so I'm just like thinking about that right now, and my memory, just what it did. Like, have you ever seen those like flip books where they're like so old school, but they're like actual paper flip books where you're like kind of like, and it like has exactly a cartoon changing. That's kind of what my brain just did, like when it comes to this concept of like home and what does home actually do to prompt you forward into the next chapter, and where has it held me back before? And so I was just kind of digging through, and one of the like moments that I like zoomed back in time to was like school. And you know how they used to have like desks, and inside the desks there was like your own little situation. There was always like your own little space that you were given, whether it was like a cubby or the desk. And I always remember having like a very distinct excitement towards that, like setting up my own space. There's something about having your own space where you can express yourself authentically, which I personally believe is so fundamental in our development and exploring what that looks like over time. So if like even B, for you, like what did you actually consider your space, like yours, a sense of ownership, a sense of stewardship, more than ownership, honestly, where you could actually cultivate, you know, a space, a home for yourself, where you felt safe, where you felt loved, where you felt good, you know? And it's fascinating because when you think about that, it's like it's interesting what memories might come to mind. So for all of our listeners, just to kind of give a little bit backstory for me. So kind of to the bougie Arab, what you were just saying, like right now it's like October when we're recording this, October 1st, right? So being in Massachusetts, it's like super important for many people to make sure that their decorations are on like a whole nother level when it comes to like Halloween, because that's, the theme of the month, right? So yeah. I have text messages sitting in my inbox from my mom and from my aunt, two women whom I massively adore and admire, whose decorations has always been something that it's a way of welcoming out the seasons, almost like a ritual. Like they welcome in the seasons from like this like spiritual, divine, feminine, but also like honoring the masculine of the harshness that comes in with our seasons, as we welcome in the cold and we out the old. We do all these things in our home and in our spaces that celebrate so many of these different nuances around and very nature based. So I grew up really with like the feminines in my family being like very focused on decor and almost in a way when I was younger, because I had such a resistance to gender norms, to stereotypical gender norms of like, I don't want to be that chick that is just strictly focused on decorating because like, girl, I got brains. I want to use those. And I started to correlate like setting up your home is not necessarily the best use of my time. So I had that. And then I also had like my dad, and he has an incredible eye for making sure that maintenance is taken care of. It's meticulous. Like if you were to look at any of my family's properties, like it's like unbelievable the amount of time, dedication, love, effort, pain, sweat, tear, all of that they've put into making sure that there's a sense of pride and a sense of when they leave the space, meaning like if they sell the home or whatever, it's always in a better state than when they arrive to it. And so that kind of metaphor has very much been so deeply ingrained into who I am and what home actually means to me, where you started, right? So like, let's just say, for example, when you first moved into your apartment, now, because of the love and the care and the effort that you've put into it, it's actually not something that's holding you back because you've invested in it. It's helping you to spring forward into the next chapter of your life. And because I've kind of grown up with this mentality of if you borrow something, put it in a better state than when you initially borrowed it. With this concept of home, I'm thinking of just like a crab. You know how like crabs or hermit crabs, they borrow shells, right? And then they like go and they like up the ante, right? I'm thinking of that concept right now because when it comes to like this sense of home, you don't want to ever have a shell that holds you back, that inhibits your growth, right? And so as I kind of look at my trajectory when it comes to what does home feel like to me and how has home held me back before? There's definitely been a pattern for me, and I'm curious to see what your thoughts are around this and for our listeners to think and join in the conversation too, with respects to like anything that I have not invested in when it comes to my physical space, my sense of home has always held me back. Like, and I'll give a very, very simple example. Okay. My desk right now, it's set up to be a stand-up desk. I have 2 monitors. I have, my arms and everything for where you're seeing recording. I initially stood this up when I first bought this home, but I haven't really invested in a way that's going to continuously support my growth until literally yesterday. And I realized because I wasn't necessarily investing in improving this space, this concept of home where I spend so much of my time on this desk, it's in a way has been holding me back because it's not set up to optimize for who I am now. When I first bought this house versus where I am now, they're totally different people.
For people whose goal isn't optimization though, because you and I are freaks of nature. We know that, whatever, it is what it is. But most people aren't trying to set up their home for elite optimization. They're trying to set up their home so it feels like home, so it feels safe, so it feels
feels good, makes you feel pride.
Exactly, it feels good. What do you think, or why do you think it's so important to do that? And why do you think not having that setup does hold you back?
I think of Megan Thorne. Shout out Megan Thorne, former client, now incredible team member on Evolve Ventures team.
I love you, girl.
We let you. Who's the head of Evolve Environments. And this is something that's so important as we, develop our team, as we build out our business, as we offer different services to our clients and our community members. But I think of one of the conversations that she and I had when she was a client, and it obviously protecting the conversation's bones and everything, but around the concept of when you look at space, to answer your question, be like, do you feel a sense of like inner pride? Like when, if someone were to come over, like if you were to be your own guest, would you look at that and be proud of what you've invested into your space, right? Because space so much is an opportunity. I see it as a canvas to be able to express who you are as a person, just like the clothes that we choose, just like, all the other choices that we have in our world. And so if you can feel that sense of pride being your own guest, because that's really what happens when you walk into a room that's yours, like my office, I'm like not feeling too hot about it. And it's fascinating because like, if you were old Amelia walking into this office, I'd be like blown away. I'd be like, oh my God, Amelia, like, shit, girl, you've got it together. Look at your cool lights, your cool plans, like unbelievable, right? But future Amelia is not impressed. She's not necessarily super prideful, right? And so it's coming and walking into the space, knowing that I could have invested more into this, which will make me feel good, which will make me feel proud, which will make me feel as though I can continue this trajectory and grow and evolve and be a better person. But I didn't do that. And so, every single day, I think it's kind of like a henpeck away at your space to see, okay, well, if this thing is bothering me, like I'll give a very decent example. I have a ton of cords that are like literally right to my left. And seeing those cords all bundled up stresses me out, gives me anxiety. Like it's like too much chaos over there. And there's a beautiful quote. I'm not even going to try, but it's something along the lines of, when you have a messy home, it's a great representation of what's messy inside. Right. And so like these cords, yesterday I purchased a couple things. We're going to clean it up. It's going to look great in like the next week. But that's why, because I'm investing in the space. It's not going to be holding me back anymore. The holding you back part of that, it makes you feel good about how you've invested in yourself, because your home, it's equally a contributor to who you are as you are to it. And I think we drastically underestimate that. So B, I don't know if that answered your question, because I think I got a little side railed, but.
No, it made sense. I mean, if you don't feel good walking into your own space, it plays an impact on your mentality. Like when my apartment was dead empty, I hated being here. Like I felt like a loser.
Feels like a prison.
I'm in this apartment. Yeah, it literally felt like a prison. I remember saying that. Yeah. It felt just so empty. And like it was empty, but like I felt empty when the apartment it didn't feel safe and nurturing. And so now that I've set it up, and I'm continuing to set it up, I'm actually being really strategic about how I set it up. So instead of like just buying random things as I see them, I'm actually going room by room of like, what rooms do I use the most and which ones need it first. So like my office, for example, any money that I'm investing into setting up this space is going first into this office. So like I bought all of that stuff behind me. Like I bought the 2 black bookshelves. I bought like these pictures that are behind me. I bought this really like expensive chair because it's like an ergonomic. Yeah, it's an ergonomic chair because it helps with like back support, and I have a bad back. Yep. I just bought like a futon that I'm going to put over there. I'm buying a rug. I have my treadmill in front of me so that I can walk in between sessions. I'm setting up the space that I use the most and that I'm going to need the most based on like functionality, but also again, that sense of feeling. So I'll probably do like my bedroom next because there's nothing in there. And then I'll do like all of the other rooms. And doing that is making this space just feel so much better. And I know that I've been so much more productive because I'm happier, because I enjoy being here. So as we start to wrap up, one of the things that we do intend on doing, like with Megan being our head and director of environment, one of the services that we are going to eventually have is like helping people figure out ways to set up their space in a really good way. So be on the lookout for that when we do start to introduce that. What is your takeaway and episode suggestion?
The takeaway is really like how much mindfulness is something that I think, especially now, because we're spending, and I wish I had the stats ready to pull out of my head with this one, but I was going to say something else. I wish I had the stats ready for y'all on this, but like I encourage, if you haven't heard these stats before, definitely look them up, but I'll just blanket. Okay. We're spending more time indoors than our species as a whole in the entire history of our species ever has.
It's wild.
It's insane. And I think that that's really important to be aware of, not just for the sake of being aware, but to see how that's actually impacting you and to show what type of control you actually have with respects to how mindful you can be when it comes to optimizing your space or leveraging your home so that it's not holding you back, right? And I think the concept of space, to kind of bring my key takeaway here, is like your space, your home needs to be evolving with you. I deeply believe in that so much, because if it's not, then it is holding you back. I remember one of my roommates, her name was Megan in college, and she had said something to me that really like touched my heart in a weird way that I never thought it would. She said, like, I don't know like how you do it, but like every single college like dorm that you set up, it looks like an interior designer came in and like snapped his or her finger and like made it this magical place. Like it's always a sense of calm. It always has a sense of like nurturing to it. And I'm like, really? And I'm like looking at my place and it's like, yeah, because I was mindful about it. And I guess that's just an unconscious competency of mine. But here's the thing. We all have the ability to create a space and to help our homes, whatever that means to you, evolve with you. And the sense of feeling of pride and happiness and fulfillment truly can come with so many small little changes, like what you had said. If you look at where you spend 80% of your time in your house, if you're focusing on making that a space that you're proud of, the ROI, the return on your investment, statistically speaking, is so effing high. So my final takeaway to our listeners to wrap this up once and for all is to be more mindful of what spaces within what you consider home are not evolving with you, because that's where you can bring a little bit more mindfulness in to see what's one small thing, whether it be swapping out a little item or whether it be rearranging the furniture or swapping out a color, right? Like, how can you do one small little step to make it feel as though it's not holding you back anymore? And my episode suggestion with that would be taking a little bit more hardcore here. Are you a doer or are you a pretender? And here's the thing. I'm calling myself out because here's the thing. I can look at these cords every single day and I can let it impact me, right? I can pretend like it doesn't bother me, but it's going to bother me every single day. I look at those cords, it pisses me off. Like what pisses me off is that I haven't done anything about it, right? So yesterday I took action, right? And sometimes it takes so much pain for you to actually take action. I want that episode to help anyone who might have been in there where you're like, it's not really bothering me that much. Like that will build. Do something about it. Help yourself feel happy and fulfilled in your space.
What was the number for that?
Oh, that was 87. Are you a doer or are you a pretender?
Perfect. My episode suggestion is 103. What's your optimal space? And my key takeaway would be, we are emotional beings. We love telling ourselves that we're not. Like, we all want to believe that we're just these rational, logical creatures. We're not. Human beings are emotional creatures. And the best way to improve and increase and have a better sense of that emotion is to feel good in your own space. So take the time to invest in the space that you're in. And I know a lot of people can't afford to like get luxurious things and to always put money into their space. Neither can I. But how can you do it strategically? How can you make a plan? How can you slowly start saving and start, you know, finding like inexpensive places to shop and like craft shops and whatever, you know? There is a way to do it, and there's a way to do it that you can feel really good about yourself doing it. So that is my final takeaway. Thank you so much to all of our beautiful listeners out there. We hope this was valuable, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.